Coals. It has a high vitamin C content. It's used to help drop high blood pressure in combination with cayenne, garlic and cayenne for high blood pressure. Cayenne is a blood thinner. It helps with digestion. It's a stimulant. And it's used in combination with many formulas to help boost them. And we have hawthorn berries, which is good for the heart. It helps strengthen the heart and bring a lot of nourishment to the heart. So it's used for heart ailments, racing heart, fibrillations, and heart malfunctions, hawthorn berries. It's also used for the prostrate too. Psyllium seeds is mostly a bulking agent. And some people take that before they eat a meal to give them a full feeling. It helps wash out the colon, small intestines, because it's a bulking agent and it gets kind of slimy in the system. But you have to drink plenty of water when you take psyllium seeds for that purpose. Cassandra is mostly a stimulant type of herb and it's used for the blood as well. Even primrose is used for the nerves and primarily for PMS these days. Guar gum helps to slow down the burning of sugar and can be sprinkled on food to help reduce the effect of hypoglycemia and a weak pancreas. Guar gum. These are how the herbs look, but most of the time when you see them in the herb stores, they're in the jars and in the form in which I'm going to show you. So they'll be more familiar to you that way. Now, see, the herbs are prepared thusly. You usually use a standard type of measurement of 1 teaspoon to a cup of water. 1 teaspoon of herb to a cup of water. In the case of flowers, you may use a palm, what can fit in your palm, to a cup of water. And you always add an extra glass for the pot, for the amount of herbs that can evaporate, or the amount of fluid that's reabsorbed by the dried herb itself. So you add a glass of water to the pot, or 2 glasses of water to the pot according to the size. 1 glass, 2 glasses, or 3 glasses of water to the pot, because that amount of herb is reabsorbed or lost in evaporation. Water, that is. So the standard measurement is 1 teaspoon to a cup of water of herbs, of roots, and so forth. And we try to use them in combination. We want to get rid of the impurities, destroy the impurities, and flush them out of the system. So we use 1 herb to carry it out, and 1 herb to destroy, and 1 herb to flush it out of the system, out of the pores. So sometimes we open up the pores. Say, for instance, let me give you an example. We have someone with a respiratory problem, which is caused a lot in the cities. So we have a respiratory problem. We know that according to traditional folklore, this herb here, which is called mullein, is good for respiratory complaints. It helps nourish and strengthen the lungs and the sinuses. So we take mullein, but we have to deal with transportation. So we want to get the mullein in the system. So we open up the pores. So we have mullein as our principal ingredient. So we're going to use 3 parts mullein, because that is our principal curative ingredient. And now we want to get it in the system. So what are we going to do? We're going to use hyssop. Hyssop will get it into the system for us. It opens up the pores, you see. Hyssop. So we're using 3 parts of our curative herb, and we're using 1 part of hyssop to get it into the system. Now we want to flush it out. Now we can get something that's very mucus forming to flush it out, or we can get something that's going to liquefy it to flush it out. Now let's say we want to liquefy it some. We want to use something will help digest it or break it down, and that would be fennel. And so we pick fennel. So we're using 3-part mullein, 2-part fennel, and 1 part hyssop in that formula. We're just going to use the 3-2-1 combination, because now we're going into the process of combining the herbs using 3. And that we can use for the lungs. Now suppose someone has a severe lung problem. Now, we know that we're dealing with African people, so now we're going to go to ginkgo. And ginkgo acts on the brain, on the memory, and as well it's going to help stimulate the pineal gland. So now we're going to use ginkgo, which is good for severe colds and asthma and respiratory type of complaints. So ginkgo is now going to be our primary healing herb, ginkgo. So we're going to take ginkgo, we're going to combine it with another herb that's good for the respiratory system, and it's also good for purifying the blood. That means it gets rid of impurities, remember? We're going to help break down the waste. So now we're going to use ginkgo and red clover. So we're using 3-part ginkgo, 2-part red clover. The ginkgo is getting it out of the pores. The red clover is also getting it out of the pores and destroying it because it purifies the blood. So we have 3-part ginkgo, 2-part red clover, and we follow up with another respiratory type of herb. In this case, it's going to be lobelia. Lobelia. We're going to use 1 part lobelia. Lobelia has a tendency to make people feel a little nauseous. Nausea may cause vomiting, so we don't use very much of this. It's used in severe cases of asthma. The tincture is used for children to drop it under their tongue in severe cases of asthma and respiratory kind of conditions. So lobelia is very beneficial in a tincture and extract form, but we're going to use it just for a severe cold or respiratory type of complaint, congestion in the chest. So we're using the ginkgo, and we're going to use the red clover and lobelia. 3 parts ginkgo, 2 parts red clover, 1 part lobelia. And that will help with severe respiratory kind of conditions, break down impurities, flush it out the system. Now let's try to purify the blood and build up some immunity and health. Now we know we have to stimulate the pineal gland in some way. We know ginkgo does it. These 2 herbs themselves increase the flow of blood to the brain and is good for the memory. So we know these 2 do that, ginkgo and gotu-kola. So we're going to include them in our formula just for that purpose. Ginkgo and gotu-kola. We can use both, but we don't have to. We'll just use one of them. Now we're going to purify the person's blood and build up their immune system. So you saw a picture of that herb called portiaco. This is how it looks in the herb stores, and we grind it up in the herb stores and put it in tablet forms and make pills out of it. Portiaco, a blood purifier, good for the immunities, gets rid of fungus and viral infections and bacterial infections. Portiaco. We're trying to defend the person's health at this point, so we're going to use portiaco, and we're going to combine that herb with another one that's kind of popular, which is called golden seal. We have that in a powdered form here. It's a yellow powder. It's a yellow gold kind of color. I don't know if you can see that too well. And it's called golden seal. It's good for purifying the blood for infections of all sorts, bacterial and viral. It's good for stimulating insulin production as well. And it's good for brushing your teeth with myrrh and alum. It helps with pyorrhea. So we're going to use golden seal, portiaco, those 2 herbs, and we're now going to go to ginkgo to help with the pineal gland, as we mentioned before. Now, to stimulate the gland, to get it to move, to function more, we're going to have to use something that deals with the glandular system itself. In specificity, that would be a herb like damiana. Damiana is also used for a sexual stimulant, but its primary purpose is to help stimulate the glands and get them to behave. But this is how you will see the herb in the store in this kind of form. Damiana. So now we have a formula there. We have portiaco, we have golden seal, and they are roots, so they have to be simmered 30 minutes. And after they are simmered, you turn off the gas, then you add the herbs such as damiana or ginkgo or gotu-kola for the pineal gland, and you let those steep for 30 minutes. And after they steep, you're combining all these herbs together in the same pot. So we know principally we're trying to protect the immune system, so we're going to use equal parts of Portiaco and golden seal. We'll use 3 parts Portiaco, 3 parts golden seal, 1 part Damiana, 1 part ginkgo or gotu kola to help with this process of purifying the blood. We could add another herb to it, up to 5, but all we're trying to do is focus on the purification of the blood. Say for instance we have another respiratory type of complaint. We get into another herb that's strictly for the respiratory system, and that's pleurisy. This is how it looks in the herb store. Pleurisy, along with elecampane, are principally used for respiratory type of illnesses. These 2 herbs are combined together. They're synergistic. So we're going to use elecampane and pleurisy, and we're going to simmer them for 30 minutes. 1 teaspoon of herb to 1 cup of water, remember? And we're going to try to drive that action. We may add a pinch of cayenne, principally just to drive it, act as a driver. Just a pinch of cayenne. We don't need much. Just a pinch, just to drive it along. And we're again working on the respiratory system. We're again doing that. And we want to get to the glands. Again, we're going to use either the ginkgo or the gotu kola to get the tissue perfusion to the brain. And we're going to use a stimulator for the glands, as I mentioned before, Damiana, blessed thistle. They stimulate the glands. Now we get to the female system. This is a very popular herb. This is dung qua. Dung qua helps to balance the hormone level, and it's used for PMS. It's used for PMS primarily, but it's also used for menopause. It's good for all kinds of glandular disturbances, as well as another herb called black cohosh, which you saw in one of the pictures earlier, black cohosh. They both balance the female system, except black cohosh has a multiplicity of functions. This is primarily used for the estrogen level, PMS, and menopause, and for teenagers going into puberty, which will be a rites of passage type of herb. Dung qua or black cohosh in combination with blue cohosh. When you have teenage girls going into puberty, you have to balance their hormone level, and that's why you go to these herbs such as dung qua, black and blue cohosh, blessed thistle, and Damiana. In the case of boys, you want to stimulate their hormone level, so you would use something like sarsaparilla for a boy going into puberty. Sarsaparilla along with a blessed thistle would help with the hormone level of the male. Sometimes they use a stronger combination of sarsaparilla and Damiana, but we have to use gotu kola as well in this formula to help with the boy going into puberty, to help his hormone level become balanced. The thing about sarsaparilla, I might add, is usually used in combination with sassafras. Sassafras is a blood purifier, and the combination of sarsaparilla and sassafras is used for arthritis typically. You use sarsaparilla, sassafras, and burdock in combination, equal parts of each, and that treats arthritis. We've done the hormone level, we've done something for colds, and we've done something for the glands of the brain, the pineal gland and the brain itself, to help with the memory with the ginkgo and the gotu kola, but we didn't do anything for the heart. Now we're going to increase the blood perfusion to the heart with what they call hawthorn berries. It strengthens the muscles of the heart. Hawthorn berries. This will be our primary treatment ingredient, and to increase the blood supply to the brain, we will use some ginkgo or gotu kola as well with the hawthorn berries for the system. So we would use this, hawthorn berries, along with juniper berries, if we were going to treat some kind of prostate problem. We combine them in equal parts, along with a ginkgo or a gotu kola for the glands of the brain. As in heaven is on earth. So we have to treat both of the glandular systems to keep them in balance, mind you. Now, because we live in a city environment, our livers become very toxic, and we may get gallstones and kidney stones and accumulations of cholesterol. Then we get to something that can take care of that. This is a herb, mostly seeds. I don't know if you can see that quite clear or not. This is the form you will see it in a herb store. This is milk thistle, which is very good for liver disorders. It helps cleanse the liver, get rid of gallstones, and rejuvenates the liver, especially livers damaged by drugs, alcohol, and aspartame, which you call NutraSweet. Very good herb for that. And to stabilize the energy level, we use something like ginseng root. Let me see if you can see that at all. That's the root in its form right there. That's how the root looks, but most of the time you see it in powder. That's ginseng or ginseng root. It stabilizes the energy in the system, increases your endurance, and it also helps with the prostate problems. It's good for females as well in combination with ginseng and dong quai. It helps strengthen the glandular system in the female. To get rid of excess fluid and those premenstrual syndromes, we pointed to the ginger that was growing, but this is the form you will see it in the herb store. This is ginger for bloating around menstruation time, and for edema of the legs, swelling of the feet, and the legs. You can soak in ginger, make a ginger tea and soak your feet in it. It gets rid of edema. It helps with headaches. A very beneficial herb for cleansing and healing are the herbs called comfrey. This comfrey has this allantoin in it. This is the form you'll see it in the stores like this. This is comfrey. It's cut up and clean. You see. It's good for healing. It's good for colds and mucus congestion. But the most popular thing, and since over 70% of the Europeans take things for digestion, mostly laxatives, it's a large seller along with aspirin. As I showed you before, white willow is a natural form of aspirin. This is what aspirin is made from. Acetylsalicylic acid, allicin is in it. This is white willow. This is the form you will see it in herb stores. White willow is good for headaches, nerve problems. That's one of the biggest sellers in European countries. The aspirin and the laxative. Let me show you one of these strong laxatives. This is one of the strong ones. Let me see if you can see that. And this is the leaves, and it's known as senna. Senna is a laxative. You may need about 3 of these to move you. Some people make the tea stronger, but laxatives work by irritating the colon. And the body tries to get rid of the irritant, and in the process of getting rid of the irritant, it gets rid of the constipation condition. Senna, that's a strong laxative. Then we have the mild laxatives such as Cascara sagrada. This is Cascara sagrada. It's a mild laxative, but it still works by irritating the system. And sometimes you have to soothe the laxative by combining it with ginger so it won't gripe your stomach. So we use ginger or we use fennel to soothe the laxative effect. And I showed you fennel earlier. Then we have the hops. This is the one that the Europeans make the beer out of. This plant here called hops. It's good for the nervous system. It's very soothing. Hops. We did do the liver with the milk thistle, but there are other herbs for the liver as well, such as the yarrow and the dandelion. Let me show you some dandelion here. Here's dandelion leaves, and then we have dandelion root. See, this is the form it comes in, dandelion. And then this is dandelion root here. I wonder if you can see any of that. It's a very good herb. They both work on the liver, and they're good for the skin. And dandelion, along with chickweed, is good for curbing the appetite. So we use dandelion and chickweed in combination with a nutritive herb, as I pointed out before. One that's loaded with vitamins and minerals, that is alfalfa. It's good in combination with weight loss formulas. You use chickweed, dandelion, and alfalfa in equal parts. And remember, use 1 teaspoon to a cup of water. Quite beneficial. alfalfa. So we covered something for headaches. Did I show you what the feverfew looks like? We saw it in its natural state. This is the herb that's used for headaches and pain, principally for migraine headaches, this feverfew is. So we will combine, say, feverfew with white willow, and that's the herbs we would use for the pain that goes along with the condition known as arthritis and rheumatism, without giving the sedative effect, because you can soothe the nerves with hops and skullcap, but it helps you relax and it may put you to sleep as well. And we may not want to do that. Then we have things that are especially good for the hair, such as this herb here. This one is called nettle. This is good for the hair. This is nettle. Nettle and rosemary are traditionally used for the hair. So we did the liver, we did the juniper berries, which you know is good for the pancreas, and we did the heart, and we did things that are good for the brain. This is juniper berry, which is good for the pancreas and the urinary tract. These are berries, juniper berries. So we did something for constipation, the urinary tract, and specific, see, the Yuba ursi, as you saw in the picture, this is how it looks in the herb stores. This is used for burning of urine and urinary tract infections and things of that sort. Also helps with the kidney and helps with edema. All diuretics help flush out toxic liquids in the body. So we use these herbs in combination, and this is how they're presented to you in the store. And we have one more here that's very good for flushing out waste, as I mentioned before. This is Irish moss, which gets very mucus in the body and helps carry out toxins and waste. And it's also soothing to the digestive system. And the famous eucalyptus tree, which makes this respiratory type herb, eucalyptus, is used for colds. It's quite popular in commercial remedies. This is the actual eucalyptus itself. And it's good as an aromatic to inhale, to open up the nasal passage. Sometimes the Europeans in their formulas, they use another herb for asthma and respiratory complaints known as ephedra. It's also good for weight loss because it speeds up the system, and in that process it speeds up the burning of energy. And therefore it liquefies things. And it's used for asthma and respiratory type complaints and helps to speed up the system. So along with ephedra and damiana and gotukola, those things are used for the reproductive system in principle. And the herbs come in liquid forms, they come in capsules, and some people prefer to get them in the loose form so they can see what they're getting and see how to make it. And they feel as though that puts them more in contact with nature, to actually touch it and be a part of the curative process. And it's also cheaper to buy the herbs in bulk form. And you can make up to a gallon of herbs and store it in the refrigerator in a brown jar. And if you don't have a brown jar, you can use a brown paper bag and make a week's supply of herb and take a glass or two every day to help cure whatever illness you're working on, be it the pancreas, the liver, your digestive system, your hormone level, your lungs, your hair, your skin with the burdock and the chickweed, which works on the skin, and your digestive system or high blood pressure. You use the cayenne and garlic, as I mentioned, and also nettle and hyssop help to drop the blood pressure and normalize it for you. So the world of being in control of yourself and understanding the herbs is made quite easy for us today, because the herbs are manufactured by big herb farmers that are Europeans, and they tend to not focus on the combinations that African people need. Those combinations help stimulate the pineal gland and stimulate the melanin production, to give a little more blood to the brain, such as gotukola, and of course ginkgo, and things that stimulate glands, echinacea, which helps clean the glands, and damiana and blessed thistle and sarsaparilla, those type of herbs that work specifically on the glands. And then we have specific herbs for the females, such as dunquois, that works on their glandular system, which should be used during the rites of passage of teenage girls, as well as the sarsaparilla, damiana, and gotukola for rites of passages for the boys. These herbs help to normalize the body And they get rid of anything that stops the body from being in homeostasis, in balance. That's what they principally do. They go to the organ that is in need of them. They don't go where they're not needed. They only go where they're needed. Synthetic drugs go all over the body. They go to healthy cells, they go to sick cells. And when they go to healthy cells, they call that the side effect of the drug. But only when you go to nature do you get specific reactions. The hawthorn berry is going to specifically work on the heart. The juniper berry is going to work on the pancreas. It's going to work on your blood sugar level, because these plants are alive and they work well with live people, whereas the allopathic system, which you call the medical doctor, works on synthetic medicines that are dead, and they kind of deaden your system and takes away the electromagnetic aura from the 12 melanin centers in your brain and in your colon and in your chakra, which is a highly concentrated areas of melanin, which they call chakras and chi forces. And these add to the energy of your body, help to stimulate it, whereas allopathic medicine drains energy from your body and goes to another secondary illness, which you have to treat either now or later in the cyclical formation of the illnesses. Some illnesses show up every 2 years, the waste builds up and then it comes out, and you think it's a new illness when it's the same illness trying to purge itself out of your system. So these herbs work in harmony with the body and the cyclical nature and help cleanse the body. I hope this is introduction to herbal medicine has helped you on your way to achieving some degree of health, knowing that we're not coming from a state of disease, we're coming from a state of health. And we came into disease when we came in contact with the European. We're trying to free ourselves from no disease and come back to our health. If we follow the European system of medicine, we're going from one disease to another disease, degenerating our system, decreasing the proficiency of our glandular system, actually weakening the immunity in the body altogether, and also destroying the activity of the pineal gland by taking these synthetic things. We need to go closer to nature to preserve our bodies closer to nature. Because once you destroy the body, you have no other place to live. You can't move and leave a bad body. You have to stay in the body you have created with ill health. So where else can you go but in your body? So if you want to stay in this living temple of God, you must go to God's curative herbs. God made a herb for every illness known to man. This is what our ancestors believed and followed, and this is what brought our civilization up to its height. And this is what kept us as the most powerful people on this planet. Nature and being close to nature and the rhythmicity of the plants and the rhythmicity of our pineal gland. I thank you.